before I go on, I want to give you a marked difference between correction and condemnation, okay? Because we want to be free, but we want to see what is the difference between correction and guilt or condemnation, okay? Correction is a change that rectifies an error. That's all it is. There's no emotion attached except for love. That's it. Correction is a change that rectifies an error or an inaccuracy. It's always intended to improve you. A correction is always for your benefit. A correction is never to make you feel bad. That is never if it is intended to make you feel bad, it is no longer a correction, it is a condemnation. But any correction is the thing about a correction is the intent is to improve. Amen? And so when we look at it's to rectify, to fix, to change, to adjust a behavior, situation, a path, or a circumstance. Amen? I'll say that one more time. A correction is to rectify, fix, change, and adjust a behavior, a situation, a path, or a circumstance. There's no emotion attached to correction except for love. Love is the only emotion attached to true correction. It's for your own good. It's for your own good. It's for your own good. Correction is for your benefit. And it's not because you're a failure. It's so that you can be less of a failure. It's so that you can come up higher. It's to fix an error or an inaccuracy, to adjust something that needs to be adjusted. There's no shame in correction. Correction is a good thing. Let's look at Proverbs chapter 15. We'll talk about the difference between correction and condemnation. That's kind of what we're doing. We want to see what correction is and why we love it and what happens when we do love it and what happens when we hate it. Proverbs chapter 15 and verse 5. It says, "A fool despises his father's instruction, but he that regardeth reproof is prudent." So a fool hates correction. And if you think about it, if somebody loves you like the Father loves you and he's trying to improve your life and you hate him for that because your flesh wants to do what your flesh wants to do, and you want to feel like a failure because somebody's coming along and trying to help you, that's foolishness, isn't it? Let your eyes be open to this today. If somebody loves you enough to try to correct you, to fix, to adjust, to change something in your life, why would you not receive it and regard that reproof? Why would you not embrace that? You may not be able to make the change entirely. You may only be able to consider the change at this point in time. But why not tell that person thank you? Thank you for loving me enough to care about me, to help me adjust this. I will take that to God, and God will help me adjust it. Amen? There's a difference between correction and condemnation. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 29, but hold your place in 15 because we're coming back there. Proverbs chapter 29, verse 1. It says, "He that being often reproved hardens his neck shall suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy." If you are often corrected and the Lord is trying to adjust you and change you and fix something in you, and those corrections keep coming and you harden your neck, that means you turn away from the correction and you don't want to hear it, and you ignore it and you ignore it and you ignore it and you ignore it and you ignore it. It says you shall suddenly be destroyed and without remedy. That's serious. If God is correcting you, or you have gotten this correction in you over and over and over and over again, and you keep on hardening your heart and hardening your neck and just being as stubborn as you can possibly be regarding this one thing, this is what's coming for you. But you're not too far gone because you're hearing this message today. But you have to know the truth. This is the truth. I don't want to be suddenly destroyed. Do you? Does anybody in here want to be suddenly destroyed and without remedy? That doesn't mean you're not going to heaven. But remember, to be carnally minded is death. If you become a slave to sin, you can physically die. And if you're born again, you'll go to heaven anyway. You'll just get there a lot sooner. You won't be able to run your race. You won't be able to finish your course. Yes, it's glorious in heaven, but as God is my witness, we need you here. We need you here. There are too many believers leaving early. We need you here. We need you to stop hardening your neck, to stop being stubborn, to actually take the correction, the adjustments, make the adjustments that are necessary, and don't feel bad about it. There's no feeling in correction except for love. I cannot emphasize that enough. If you get a correction, it's not because you're a failure, it's because you are loved. If a correction comes from me, from God, from your spouse, from somebody in your life, if a correction comes, it's not because you're a failure. It's because you are loved. Somebody cares enough about you to speak up and to say something. And if you're over somebody, and this is a hard one for me as a pastor, but if you're over somebody and you don't correct them, you don't love them like you think you do. This is hard. I'm a mother. I have children. There are times where I did not want to correct my children. I didn't want to. I knew it was going to be bad. I knew it would blow up in my face because they were being foolish, and if you argue with a fool, you get lashes, and I didn't want the lashes, but I loved them too much, so I corrected them. Correction always comes with love. Amen? Let's turn back to Proverbs 15. And we'll look at verses 10 through 12. Proverbs 15, verse 10. Correction is grievous unto him that forsakes the way, and he that hates reproof shall die. Hell and destruction are before the Lord. How much more then the hearts of the children of men? A scorner loveth not one that reproveth him, neither will he go unto the wise. If you are avoiding people that are correcting you and trying to help you, you might be a scorner. Stop it, right? That's the thing about it being in the Bible is that it's there for our benefit. It's not there to make us feel bad. Truth is not set up to make you feel bad. Truth is set up to set you free from feeling bad. Right? Truth is set up to set you free from that cycle of feeling guilty, feeling condemned, not being good enough, and feeling so awful about these things, right? The truth is that Christ has made you righteous, but you might need some correction once in a while. You might need to make some adjustments in your behavior. If you were a slave to sin and somebody came along and set you free and you started going back down that path, and they didn't say anything to you, what would you think of them? Why didn't they tell me? I can tell you, this is awful, but it's true. I used to be overweight. Clearly I'm not now, but I used to be really overweight. And I go to the doctors, and for years, no doctor told me I was overweight. None of them told me it was a problem. Like I knew I was fat. I'll just be honest with you. I knew, but I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know the right way to fix it, and I didn't know it was going to be such a problem, and nobody told me. If a doctor had told me in my 20s, look, You're headed down a path you don't want to go down. You are overweight, and we need to get a handle on this while you're young. I would be living a very different life today if one of those doctors would have loved me enough to say, Cindy, you're fat. You need to lose weight. That's hard. I could have been like, who are you to tell me? I'm getting out of here. You're not my doctor anymore. Or I could have made the changes. Because I love wisdom, I would have made the changes. I just didn't have one that loved me enough to say that to me. Do you see what I mean? If you have people in your life that love you enough to say something to you about this or about that, thank them. Thank you for loving me enough to say something about me. I am working on this, but it's hard. Would you pray for me? Would you help me? Would you come alongside me? Could you be my accountability partner? There's so many things you can do. Thank you for the wisdom coming out of your mouth. Now, don't expect your loved ones who aren't hearing this message to act like that when you correct them. Don't expect that because, don't expect that. But we can change ourselves.